From Florida, Mr. Donalds is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Witnesses, thanks for being here. I think obviously us dealing with the post office trying to electrify, obviously it's a situation we need to deal with in this committee. It's under our purview. But one thing that's already been clear that's come out of this hearing so far is that we are trading the apparent dependence on some portions of foreign oil at this point, and frankly because of reckless energy policy from the administration, to a complete reliance on the Chinese with respect to getting electric batteries for the Postal Service. So we are asking the American people to literally pay billions of dollars for batteries that we are going to get from the Chinese, sources from, under Mr. Stein's testimony, cobalt being mined by kids in Africa. The same cobalt material, which is far more harmful to the environment, far more dirty than our own environmentalists in the United States don't want us to mine. They don't want us to mine it here, but it's okay for kids to mine it in Africa and for us to buy it from the Chinese. Mr. Britton, a question for you. Mr. Stein's testimony talked about, frankly, how dirty it is to mine some of these minerals. What is your group's position on advanced nuclear reactors?
We don't have a position.
Mr. Britton, you're from the Zero Emission Transportation Association, and your organization, a Zero Emission Transportation Association, doesn't have an opinion on modular nuclear reactors, advanced nuclear reactors, microreactors that can actually provide the energy output necessary to provide the electric load that an electrified fleet from the post office would provide, but your organization doesn't have an opinion on this.
Well, we focus mostly on what propels the vehicle itself, and so it's gasoline, hydrogen, battery electric. So that's typically where we focus. But I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. Britton, quick question for you.
Yeah.
If you're going to plug an electric vehicle in, where are you getting the electricity from to charge the battery?
From the grid.
And where does that energy, how is the energy that's on the grid get generated?
Depends on the region, but it's a full blend of whether that's coal, gas, renewables, nuclear.
So let me back up. We're talking about trying to have vehicles be zero emission.
Yep.
It's a worthy goal. It's a nice goal. But the reality is that the energy necessary to charge the vehicles still comes from the fossil fuels that the other side of the aisle would want us to completely get away from under the current energy proposals and projections and vision from the Biden administration. Would you say that's correct?
Well, what I would refer you to, which actually is a pretty interesting comparison. So if you look at the Union of Concerned Scientists map for the entire U.S., they actually map out what is the carbon equivalency for a gas-powered car versus an internal combustion engine vehicle or in an EV. And what they find is that across the country, it's often 100 to 200 miles per gallon equivalency when you look at the carbon content. So point being is that in some regions, you might have a cleaner grid. Other areas of the country, you might have a dirtier grid.
Does that study take into account the dirtiness of getting the rare earth minerals to create the battery that goes into the car itself?
Yeah, it's a full well-to-wheel analysis of scope 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stephens, quick question for you. If the Postal Service was left to its own ability, would you be going down this line of purchasing electric vehicles to the scale that the majority party wants you to purchase electric vehicles?
We would be purchasing the 20% that we are taking forward in our acquisition today. That's an amount that we can afford. There are benefits, particularly if applied to the routes that have the right conditions where we can actually capitalize on the benefits of an electric vehicle. The more you drive, the more you save.
Okay.
So the longer routes that are between 40 and 70 miles in length, are really a sweet spot, and the OIG's independent TCO analysis found the same impact. Longer routes give us the better opportunity for savings potential.
Quick question, because I'm running out of time. I want to try to focus this in.
Yes.
You are going to get funded. That the Democrats want to fund you to make these purchases. More money above what you're currently funded to run operations, or whatever we backfill from the Treasury to keep you guys afloat. Are you taking advantage of any other federal subsidies in order to make these acquisitions? Does that go into the analysis of being able to buy electric vehicles at the post office?
It will go into the analysis. We haven't initiated that body of work yet. We just got the vehicle contract signed. That will be in the process while we develop infrastructure. So we'll absolutely consider it and have plans in the works to assess available incentives.
All right, real quick, Mr. Stein, I know we kind of talked about the national security aspects of relying on China for electric batteries. In your opinion, would that put us in in a worse position from a national security perspective than we currently are with the oil and gas that we do import from several nations around the world?
Certainly 100% based on today, because most of our oil imports today actually come from countries like Canada and Mexico. So even the oil that we're importing isn't necessarily from hostile nations, and that has only been a recent change in the last 10 years.
Madam Chair, considering the fact that the Chinese literally dominate the electric battery market, it makes no sense at all why the United States government should be giving the Postal Service more billions of dollars to acquire batteries that literally come from the Communist Chinese Party and empowering them to put us at a disadvantage here at home. With that, I yield back.